25 years, 2 times a day, 365 days a year. Lolita, the orca whale, has been delighting audiences with her performances at the Miami Seaquarium.
I'm Dr. Ingrid Visser, and I'm here in Miami to see Lolita the orca, who's in captivity just over there. It's a real mission for me to be here in terms of a mission to get education out to the public about what's going on, but it's also a mission because I care about her. One of the reasons that I want to come and see Lolita is that I'm really concerned about the conditions that she's being kept in. You know, you hear that she's in a very small tank, you hear that she's got no environmental enrichment, nothing to do all day except for a couple of shows, and I really want to come and document that and use my expertise as a wild orca biologist and put that into perspective for people. A lot of the PR with these aquariums like SeaWorld, like Miami Sea Aquarium, that keep whales and dolphins in captivity is they say that it's for educational purposes. But I just can't see how it's education. You know, if it was education, we've had 40 years of it. Why do we still have to have them in captivity? Surely we'd be educated enough by now. You know, as adults, we have grown up with these animals in captivity, so we should be the ones that are shutting it down now. As a scientist, I find it something that I have to do to try and help these animals. From a personal point of view, it's not just a mission of passion, it's also a mission of compassion. Wow. I mean, I knew this was small, but this small? On an average day when I'm out with orca in the wild, I can follow them for 5 to 8 hours, and I can follow them over easily 50 kilometers. And in that time frame, I would see them typically sleeping, hunting, socializing. They would be food sharing. They would obviously be traveling during that time frame. And yet when you see an orca in captivity, you see them just either lying there despondently, or you see what's termed stereotypic behaviors. And those are abnormal, repetitive behaviors. So that might be chewing on the concrete, it might be swimming in a circle. People are used to seeing animals like bears or tigers pacing up and down. You see exactly the same thing with whales and dolphins when you know what to look for. They just go round and round the tank. They typically surface at exactly the same spot. And the fact that these animals can't travel, they're confined within these tiny little blue cylinders, is really, really difficult to watch. So this is very typical stereotypic behavior, just head lifting like that. When you look at an orca in the wild compared to an orca in captivity, there's this huge difference. I mean, it's literally indescribable. So as a biologist, I try my best to explain to people where those differences lie, but you can never really explain to someone unless they've seen them in the wild. And that's the hard bit, because most people want that instantaneous gratification. They want that guarantee of seeing an animal, so they go to see them in captivity. Yet in reality, when they see them in captivity, they're not seeing the same thing.
And only Lolita, our killer whale!
shrills were heard for miles, according to local residents Lila Snover and Barbara Stevens.
Sounds they made were what we really noticed. What you really felt were the cries of both the small ones and the adult ones. And I remember one day I stopped over there right close to them with my children that were very small at the time. They kept saying, "Why are they crying? They're crying." It just broke your heart, everybody that saw them. And you kept wanting them to let them go. What harassing them.
There was a group of people that even contemplated going out in small boats, like in the dark, and trying to cut the net and set the orcas loose, but they were being guarded all day and all night by people on the boats with rifles.
It was terrible. It was just terrible. You felt like it was a prison camp. It was awful. And I think everybody that remembers it will tell you that.
Adolescents from 2 to 7 years old, the perfect age for capture and training, were quickly separated from their mothers and prepared for extraction. While desperately trying to reach her child through the twisted nets, one mother drowns. One last glimpse of her infant being dragged away, and she closes her blowhole and sinks lifelessly into the murky water.
And I know the facts. I mean, I know exactly the dimensions of the tank. I know the dimensions of her, but when you actually see it, you realize how tragically small that tank is.
We tried something. We played a tape of whale calls from Lolita's family pod. Let us be the first to say this is not scientific, but she did react. She seemed intrigued. See the way she holds her head straight up out of the water? Her ears are located on her neck about 6 inches down from her eyes. She came closer. Is she curious about sounds that are different, or are they familiar? Are we watching Lolita remember her past? It's questions like these Ken Balcom wants to explore, if he can bring Lolita out of captivity.
We're going to be able to look into the memory and mind of a whale like we never had an opportunity before.
Balcom says he's not going to dump Lolita cold turkey into the sea. He says training for release is a long, slow process, but if it's successful, it would give science its first good look at the underwater world of orcas.
So there's a very robust plan in place to help Lolita retire. It involves training her for simple things like being able to move in a bigger environment and to be able to catch live fish again. And we would never just throw her out into the ocean and just say, right, you're on your own, sunshine. So the idea with the rehabilitation plan is that she would be retired into a little secluded cove that would be netted off. And that would give her the ocean experience, but on a small scale, so that she wouldn't be frightened. She'd have rocky bottom, pebbles, seaweed, fish, and the currents and the waves, all of those things that should be what she should have in her natural life, not in the sea circus that she's having to do here, purely for people's entertainment. You're using an animal that's just basically a facsimile, a puppet of what a real orca is. It's just tragic that she's been kept in there in that torturous environment for this long. You know, have a heart. You've spent 40 years making money off this animal. You know, the only way Lolita's going to retire otherwise is if she dies.
of doubt, but pulled against the grain, I feel a little pain that I would rather do without. I'd rather be free, free, free. I'd rather be free, free.